Welcome to the Berks Homes podcast, the business of building homes. I'm Katie, here with my brother Ben, and today we are talking about our vision and why who we are is the thing that makes it happen.
Out of the gate, we're struggling a little bit here, so we're going to get on track.
We're already tying it back to my challenge.
Yes, okay.
Because, this week we both took a day off during the week for separate reasons, different days, just happened. It's probably the first time that's ever happened in our careers.
Just a day.
Yeah.
I went on a little mini trip with my family on Monday.
Yes.
And you had a
day of appointments.
Stay at home / day of appointments.
So I should share this for 1 second.
Okay.
I will digress.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with our vision by any stretch. But I found kind of a life hack.
Oh.
So as an adult, the older you get, now that I'm very old, you have so many maintenance appointments with like wellness and doctors and things. And, like dermatologist and it's all that stuff that you have to
A lot of ologists.
Yes,
yeah.
All of the ologists. Well, what I decided to do is stack them all on 2 different days during the year, 6 months apart.
Yeah.
So the morning, it's just back-to-back torture appointments. And then the afternoon, I booked myself afternoon at the spa.
Spa day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So it's my reward for being an adult.
Right. It is a hack. And, we're in that season of not really any day's a good day.
No.
Unfortunately.
Correct.
But you got to have a day,
I think taking 2 days off a year is probably not a big deal, right?
It's also, this is the reverse life hack. It's not advised. You need time off.
Right.
Outside of normal vacations.
So all that being said, both of us had a packed week when we were here.
Yes.
And we're decorating a model home, so I was out of the office for that. So there's a lot going on. So walking into this room, we were
a little stumped, but we're on the right track now.
Mm-hmm.
So let me start off by asking why the vision of being a major league player in a minor league market makes sense for us.
Mm-hmm.
Why did that resonate when we clarified that?
That's a great place to start. So we knew who our people were.
Start with
first.
People. Absolutely.
People first. And that means the type of employees, the type of partners, and the type of customers who work best with us. So knowing that and sticking with that created our markets for us.
Mm-hmm.
That inherently became who our markets are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So minor league markets, we're calling it that because that's mostly where minor league baseball teams play, and they are on the outskirts typically of really urban areas where the public builders, yes, thank you, they're the ones that are in charge of those areas, and we did not feel any need to participate in that level of competition, but we believe that we could compete with them if we wanted to be in those markets with our level of product quality, experience, and all of that, which is why we're saying we want to act as a major league player, even when we're in those minor league markets.
Right. And to clarify, we do run into that in our current,
that
footprint.
Competition, you mean?
Yeah. The outer edges, we're in southeast Pennsylvania, like our home office where we sit. We're less than an hour from Philadelphia. So the entire western suburbs of Philadelphia, there's always been that public builder influence.
Yeah.
Heavily influenced. I mean, Toll Brothers headquarters is, 40 minutes away or something.
Yeah.
So they've always dominated the area, and we've gotten a piece of that for the last 50 years in certain pockets. It's one neighborhood at a time, but where our bread and butter has always been is a little further west, central PA, and now we see it a lot in State College. So when we think back, it was like starting with the people thing. It wasn't like planting a flag and saying we got to go towards that. It was who we already were.
It was natural.
It was just
organic.
saying, oh, this is who we are. So it's looking around and
it's saying what's working.
Yeah,
we said,
part of
this
the
is
vision
working.
is it's twofold. It's not just where we're going. It's who we are and why we're going to go that way, right? So when I think of major league player and minor league market and how it ties back to our identity over the last 50 years and now is, we are family business. There's very obvious heavy influences of our dad's personality throughout the company. And that's just, every company has an identity to some degree. And so looking back, it was always what mattered most was the people, your people, meaning coworkers and employees and stuff, and then the people you work with, which again, we're in that kind of like, and I wouldn't say no man's land, but we're perfectly straddling the suburban Philadelphia area and then Amish country.
Right.
And if anybody knows anything about central Pennsylvania in general, it is flush with construction companies.
Yeah.
And by and large, a wonderful trade base. The horror stories you hear nationally about qualified trades, historically, that's not a concern in this area. Now, that doesn't mean it's not getting really hard. We've talked about that already.
Yeah.
But those types of smaller contractors that are used to doing quality work, even at volume, they historically have been there and are really great partners for us.
Absolutely.
And so there's plenty of markets across the country that are similar.
Yes.
That there are builders like us doing quite well and have, the same attributes. And that was kind of the genesis of us wanting to grow, knowing that there's more of these. And if we can apply it on a regional scale in one state, in one certain part of the state, why can't we do it elsewhere, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the great part about defining it. Again, so we've identified minor league market, what that means, that we just stay true to who we are. What's really nice is it's not wildly off from other demographics.
Yeah.
It's a definitely replicated type of trade base, type of product, type of
opportunity.
And the type of person and the community that gets built around who those home buyers are, actually.
Right.
So this is reminding me of something that we created a few years ago, again, just to define, starting with the people. So we created what the perfect buyer is, and I'm translating that into what is the perfect relationship. Oh,
I like it.
I'm going to have to look this up for a second.
Apply this to marriage or something?
You know what? You might be able to listen. It might be that good.
Dr.
Okay.
Katie. Right.
Well, let's see. Give me a second here.
So the demographic is a piece of it, but it's culture when you talk about like an area.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also taking ownership as employees or people and how to attract and create that.
Yeah.
So we identified who is our perfect buyer.
Okay.
Yeah. Someone who has reasonable expectations. They understand that there might be mistakes along the way, but they trust us that we'll get it right in the end. They understand what they're investing in, what comes with the experience and what they have to might add a little investment here and there to make it personalized. And they are well informed. They listen when you update them. They trust us and believe that we're the expert, someone that likes us and our homes and appreciates what we do.
Yeah.
So that's our perfect buyer. So we flipped it in training for a lot of our customer-facing employees and said, well, what can we do to create this perfect buyer?
Yeah.
It's on us.
Who do we need to be?
Yes.
Correct.
So what we have to do to create the perfect buyer is to set the expectations properly. So if you want them to be reasonable, You have to set those expectations properly. If you want them to trust us, you have to give them a reason to trust us. You always follow through, do what you say you're going to do, under promise and over deliver,
Oh, those are good. Yeah.
And then be someone that everyone likes. So if you want them to like you,
Newsflash.
You have to be likable. You have to be excited to sell and build homes. You have to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be honest and a great communicator.
Yeah.
So this applies to, that's why I'm saying I'm translating that not only to a buyer, but it's to relationships within our company.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a great leader and you want to create your perfect team, well, you have to set expectations properly. You have to give them a reason to trust you. You have to be someone that everyone likes. If you want to be a great partner in, building the home, to trade. So it's the same thing.
Right.
There's 3 things that you got to do. So what's really great is we can not only identify what those markets look like based on who we are and who we want to work with, both customers and partners, but we can be the people that create that everywhere we go also.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And our core values are just, flying in and out all over that.
Yeah.
And I always think about that word trust that we like to use a lot. And
As our mission. And
eventually maybe this sounds insane. Maybe we will get a cameo someday by Dad. I don't think we could encapsulate who he is on a podcast. Probably would be difficult. But I always...
The man that doesn't talk.
Yes, you have to refer back to him.
Yeah.
In the sense of trust, like we are trusting people.
Yeah.
Inherently.
You tell me something,
maybe
I'm
to
gonna
a fault.
believe you, unfortunately.
But I think if we're constantly displaying trust, you get more trust back.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with somebody that just doesn't trust anybody, you might be able to break through a little bit by showing them that trust.
Yeah.
And I've seen it time and time again in relationships with developers.
Yeah.
Some trades, like they might come in with a big wall, but you show them enough that we are worthy of trust and I'm trusting you.
Yeah.
It's reciprocated. You can really, really have a good relationship over time. And I feel like that really goes all throughout the company. And it's probably the most important thing to me.
Is
at the end of the day,
creating that?
Is creating the trust and reciprocating that and respect, obviously.
Yeah.
But knowing like we're all on the same team. There is no top-down heavy, hard management. There's a lot of freedom. Innovation's really important. So if you have a trusting relationship, there's going to be much more innovation because there's little back and forth between willing to take risks.
Yeah, that's
and
huge.
Failure. We've talked about this before, failing forward all the time and learning from your mistakes. And I'm tying this into what we talked about earlier. So I'm just saying with who we are, our personalities, and I say ours, not just you and I, but the company's personality, it works because we don't always assume we're right. There's always a better way to do it. We're willing to take risks as such because we're willing to live with the consequences knowing that it will work out as long as we learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So tell me what your thoughts are on that whole idea.
Well, I think that identifying, just talking about who we are, again, as an organization, who that personality is and saying, oh, that fits so perfectly with these minor league markets. We've identified that. But what you're talking about is then how do you become that major league player within those markets?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where, again, it ties back to our core values, and that personality is the humility. And that's what you're saying is not being afraid to try things and not be right, or try something, push it out, be completely confident in it, and then be okay when somebody tells you it's not working.
Right.
That's huge, is not having that ego where you have to stay continued on the wrong course just because
time investment,
Yeah.
money, ego,
Right.
an idea, like, great ideas are usually like the second thing that happens.
Yeah.
You have
Right.
the bad idea that turns into the good idea. And promoting that is a distinct like function of the personality of the company.
Right.
Truly promoting it.
Yeah.
Not in pockets, not like saying, well, we have the IT department and their job is to innovate, right?
Correct. It is across the board and
it's an
should be in every role. In the whole company.
organizational trait
Yes.
that we aspire for.
Yeah.
It's not like that's what we have. It's always evolving.
Honestly, I think that that's where our biggest points of conflict come up more than anything else, because we are all so passionate about that and we are so willing to try things and innovate. It has been difficult to get alignment and consistency and pick the things that are the cornerstones.
Yeah.
Because, relentless innovation, one of our 3 uniques that we push all the time. So, it's that piece of being innovative, pushing the boundaries, moving constantly, pushing ahead to the next thing. I don't think that's ever going anywhere. we almost need to supplement it a little bit with a little bit of structure, a little bit of consistency. And I think that that's one thing we don't have the answer for yet.
Yeah.
Is how to make that happen. That's one of the things we're really focused on this year, is figuring out how to standardize
consistency
and push our core tenets at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is why you and I should not be in charge of it, because we will blow it up every time. Be like, what about this?
Yeah. That was great, but this could be better.
Right. Change it. Ugh.
And then you have a lot of agreeable people or accommodating people that go with the flow.
Yeah.
And are just like, all right, this is a new thing. We're doing it. I was going this way. Now we're going this way. Happy day.
Right.
And, there is something to be said about that, where, again, with my people, my team, we're really trying to look through a certain lens.
Oh, yeah. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So anything that we're doing, we talked last week about the Clubhouse program. So the Clubhouse program is really dedicated to regional support.
Yeah.
So it's saying we have 3 regions that are distinctly different but the same. They have their own teams working as hubs, doing the same thing. And then we have our home office, the policy setting or guiding, coaching. We have the coaches in the Clubhouse. And each one of these coaches, their directive is to create consistency and alignment across all regions. So with that idea in mind, the operations team that we're diligently working on thinking through the lens of scalability.
Yes.
So when you're proposing something, slight change, shift in a process or an idea to innovate, it has to match scalability. So whatever you're doing, is it going to work at 10 regions?
That's the first question.
That's the first question. And then beyond that, you kind of go through the little things that make that happen, because that's the only thing that matters.
Right.
If it only works for the current setup we have now, it's not going to work. And it's not worth trying.
It's not worth implementing something as a Band-Aid now when the regions can sell and build homes without us.
Right. Correct.
So
don't get out of the way a little bit.
Only set something up when it's for the future.
And it's an enhancement or an improvement to their efficiency, the amount of things that they do, and a big challenge with that is, again, I just keep bringing Dad in because he has such a heavy influence over how we do things.
Yeah.
And we have a number of team members that have been here for years and years.
Yeah.
So they're heavily influenced by that personality of, well, we could get it perfect too. We have a lot of great people who are very detailed and want it to be just right. And typically, when you're trying to grow and scale, you need to just let some of it fall off the truck. And it's going to be wasted.
Well, that's where what I've been focused on with my team is don't worry about the how, the step-by-step how. Worry about the end result.
Yeah.
What you are implementing is your expectation of what the end result looks like. They can worry about the details.
Right. And one thing that we talk about a lot, the phrase we use is what problem are we trying to solve?
Yeah.
So if you define that from the beginning, the problem is, and then it's one sentence, one phrase, but that's it.
Yeah.
It's not, the problem is this and this and this and this. All those things are a nice to have, but not a need to have when you're usually trying to become more efficient.
Yeah.
So just identify the one thing you're trying to solve, and it will be simplified and less complicated. And when you have 300, 400, 500 employees, we can apply the same principles to doing that thing at that scale.
If you want to use a silly example, if your expectation is you have to have a welcome mat at the front door of any completed spec or model. That's it.
Right.
That's the assignment. That's the policy that the home office puts in place. Where you keep your inventory of those mats, we're not going to say where you keep that. Who puts the mat there? Not going to say that because every region's staffed with the different amount of positions and roles depending on the size of the region. There might not be the same parallel role in every region to do one thing. So again, end result is put a welcome mat in front of the front door at a model home.
That's it. Right.
However you decide to get there. Now, the idea behind that is we trust and believe that we have hired competent people who will be able to figure that out fairly quickly. Now, the beauty of what we're talking about, though, is if for some reason something that seems to be simple, because I'm using that as that's such a simple example, it might not be in practice.
Oh, absolutely.
So maybe they do come back to their coaches and say, I know we're supposed to figure this out, but we keep getting tripped up. Then we can get involved.
Can you tell me who should do it?
Yeah. Who do you think should do this?
Right.
Where should we keep these mats?
Yeah. Yeah. Then we can brainstorm on a solution. And the coaches work together on that.
Yeah.
Because one region might say, I want my salespeople to do it. The other region might say, I want the field staff to do it. And then they'll both come to their leaders and tell them why they shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
And then, we can work it out. But that is it's a good example because of how simple it is on the face value. And what we don't want to do from the beginning is say, we need a welcome mat at each completed spec or model, and this is where you should keep them.
Right.
And this is who should do it, and it has to be on this day.
Exactly.
Because then it will flop.
Yes.
If you just start with the simple, they'll figure it out, and then
if they don't,
most likely we have 3 regions. One of the 3 always figures out something.
Yes,
that makes sense. All those little steps.
Yep.
And then we just go, hey, other 2 regions, do it like that.
Right. Well, and again, that's like when you build a product and you're testing it, the market tells you.
Absolutely.
If it's a good product or not. The market will tell us, meaning the 3 regions will tell us if we have a good policy or not.
Right.
So if we're missing something, it's going to come up.
Right. Yeah. And they're the market, like you said.
Yeah.
And that's the mindset that we're really trying to nail down and just be embedded in our culture from the beginning, is the support for them. The profit centers, that's what they are. If we didn't have any regions, we would have 0.
Right.
We wouldn't sell houses.
Well, I just realized we're kind of meandering, but we're talking about this because the only way to become that major league player in these minor league markets is to make sure that back and forth is healthy, and that's good because, like we said, we've got the culture, we've got the people, we have the components to make it happen. We know what it looks like to be a major league player. It's refining that relationship and that back and forth to continue to replicate it as we scale.
One of the other things that I always think about when we talk about that vision is the reason why it's attainable and why we feel like we have the people and the mindset to do it is because we want to win the right way.
Yeah.
So if you think about the quote-unquote major league markets, it's so numbers driven.
I was going to say that before.
Yeah.
We'd compromise if we were there.
Right. It's just winning is literally profit and loss. I mean, it's so
volume.
It's all a numbers game. And, when you're competing with a publicly traded company, their duffel bag of cash is slightly bigger than our little purse.
Coin purse.
If you're comparing the two and the depths of what they're willing to pay for land, that's what it all comes down to, right? So that's all dictated by the money. And there's something about winning the right way, and that on its face value, kind of like a competing interest.
Yeah.
Yes. And we've talked about this with personalities and the tests that we use, the SDI with the colors, red, green, blue, red being driven for results. And we need every type of person.
Yeah.
Right? Checks and balances to work towards those goals. But winning is always important. If we don't win, we're not here.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a ton of internal satisfaction that we all get from seeing great numbers. It's just, I don't care who you are. It feels good to win.
Yeah.
However, there's an empty feeling if we're all out here for scalps and those numbers are produced. We're not satisfied with that.
Well, you're left feeling a little gross.
Yeah.
Why would you want to live like that? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, we just talked about this week. People use the phrase, oh, it's a win-win situation. And we like to have a win-win-win.
Yeah.
Not only
explain it.
Is that a benefit for both parties, but it's the experience that you went through to get that win. So it's you get a personal win, the other person gets a personal win, and the result is a win.
Right.
So,
it's a net positive.
Yes. So you can have a net positive by one person getting a win and the result is a win. But if the other person loses and gets run over during it, that's not how we want to operate.
Right. I always talk about with negotiations.
Yeah.
And the philosophy that we inherently have is always, again, Dad, he always goes like this, always leaving a little bit left over. You might be able to get all of it.
Throw him a bone, he says.
What's the point?
Exactly.
If it works with a little left over for the other party, make it happen.
And they have more to contribute back to other things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a critical thought process. We apply that to our land partners, our trades, our employees, everybody that we come in contact with, which is always, not bleeding people dry.
Oh, yeah.
For every last penny.
Right.
Leaving a little bit left because you're going to want to come back.
Yes. That is long-lasting relationships.
Right.
You can have one interaction with someone and then they're never going to come back again. Why?
Right.
I mean, what's the point of trying to do great things when it's, never going to come back again? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
And it's the whole idea, too, of, like, I don't want to be morbid or anything, but at the end of the day, what do you want to be known for?
Yeah. Well, it's like you're, going back to your life plans, your life achievements.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about that now, all of what we're talking about plays into it. It's the little moments that build up to it.
Right. Right. Do people have a lot of respect for what you've built and created, the legacy, the relationships, or do they remember you as the guy that won every single interaction?
The gotcha guy.
The gotcha guy that maybe has a couple extra zeros
Ooh.
when he dies.
Right. Have fun?
Yeah, he's the only one enjoying that.
Right.
Maybe. Probably miserable. So it's just that mentality, and I think that's what I'm obsessed with as we grow is, and I have like zero worries, and I'm just not a worrier.
Yeah.
Probably to a fault.
Everything just always works out.
Yeah, just a little over optimistic, possibly, but I get by. And I think if I do have a concern or a worry is that we do this scale and grow, and every little growth period involves giving something up of who we are.
I'm with you.
Do you know what I mean?
My only fear.
It is the only fear, and it's like let's be clear, you have to give something up to get something.
Yes.
Always. Something. And I'm not saying, but not identity.
Correct.
So there are certain things, and we deal with this now on almost a daily basis. It's like little tiny things. 20 years ago, we didn't have to worry about, right?
Yep.
But the more people you get, the more you have to structure things, and it's a little, it might feel a little restrictive in certain things. Our technology is a good example because as technology grows and becomes more prevalent in literally everything we do, it's also a massive risk.
Yeah.
People, the criminal enterprise is alive and well in the technology space because it's kind of like a black box for most of us.
Right.
So the really smart people, they can get you. And so all that stuff with technology, it has to become a little more restrictive. We have to educate our people on the risks on a daily basis. We all get a ton of emails. People are always trying to get in, ransomware, all that stuff. And so, we have to protect ourselves. And
full disclosure, I think I pride myself in my know before training.
Yeah.
That I know what I'm doing. Okay?
Exactly.
So, I take the training, I'm in it. I failed one quiz twice today when I was doing the training. And I was humbled.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you get for being cocky.
Right.
And it was for the executive training.
Oh, wow.
Which means I'm the weakest link here. Somebody's going to hack through because of me. And I better start taking this stuff seriously.
Full disclosure, I failed 2 times on that test as well.
Did you?
Week.
Must have been a hard one. Was it hard? It was hard to pay attention to be honest.
It's probably some of our attention span.
Did you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
It's probably hard to pay attention. We also recognize the importance of it. And for you and me, we don't want to be the ones to, let a hacker in.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm fully bought in.
Right, exactly. So, but you see my point. When you grow, we give up a little bit each time.
Yes.
And that's just par for the course, man. Because, again, the vision was set because we're like, why wouldn't we want to do this everywhere we could?
Yes.
It's not greed. It's not trying to, expand our horizons because we want to be on the front page of a magazine. Certainly.
No.
Please don't. But it's because we're like, why wouldn't we?
Why not?
If we love what we do and we can add another region of awesome people to work with and do cool things and have happy customers somewhere new, well, of course, why wouldn't we?
Yeah.
It's awesome. But with that, you have to, there's a little less freedom in certain areas. And so what we want to focus on is not that, but hopefully the new freedoms that we can unlock because of those opportunities.
And yes, that's a very good point to make, is if we keep ourselves cleaned up, and that's really kind of how I think about it, just clean up our act a little bit, which is what feels restrictive sometimes.
Sure.
Then we can do more, play around with other things, grow in different ways, have innovation once the basic stuff is locked down. So that's basic stuff of being safe
Yeah.
in all capacities,
Yeah.
being trained, being consistent. It's annoying sometimes,
Yeah.
but once we nail that stuff down for the protection and enhancement of everybody,
Yeah.
then we get to do the fun stuff.
TLDR, it's for everybody's benefit. It starts with why,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the why.
Yeah.
Like we said before, it's all about the why, not the how.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about the how.
Mm-hmm.
You know, focus on the why.
Mm-hmm.
And the why's always good.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
always really good reasons to do things.
Truly, to be a major league player in a minor league market.
Yes.
Full circle ties it back directly to that.
Yeah.
We won't get there unless we do these things.
So one other question with that. So we talked about we share the equal concern about losing even 1% of identity.
Correct.
That if we have a worry, that's what it is, right? What's the inverse of that for you? What's the most exciting part to you?
I think the unknown.
Yeah.
You know, the things I don't know. I like to learn. I like to experience new things. You know, we're in one state. Well, what's it like somewhere else?
Yeah.
What's that look like to have two different states operating at the same time?
Yeah.
That are regionalized. Like, what I'm always asking, what am I missing? What am I missing? What's
Right.
next? You know?
Yeah.
And having that black hole in front of me is exciting. You know, that's the most...
The challenge of, like, getting there.
Yeah.
And...
I don't even know how it's going to happen.
Yeah, I have no idea, but it'll work out.
Right.
And I think that's for me, too. I think the other thing that I enjoy the most is, like you said, unlocking new personal challenges to get better at the different levels, right? So talked about, I mean, there's been a consistent, I don't know, 30 to 60 days where I'm actually struggling to just clean up my email on a daily basis.
Yes.
You know, be responsive and having the discipline to dedicate that time to be responsive and present.
Yes.
With email, right? That's how busy we've been. But it's also been so great because there's been so many meetings and so many interactions that I feel like I'm learning how, you know, again, we talk about this all the time, not on the podcast necessarily, but together, just leveling up leadership and creating the right vibes, the team.
Absolutely. I don't think we can or anyone can do that without challenge, without...
You hit that point.
Yeah, because it forces you in a good way to, you know, come out on top, figure it out.
Right.
Because if you're not being challenged to figure something out, or, you know, if you're just stuck doing the same thing over and over again, it's hard to become better. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had this question in our L10 on Wednesday, you know, what brings a smile to your face or puts you in a good mood. We talked about stuff. One of the other things that I was going to say, I think what I said was like going for a run on a nice day. I love that.
Yeah.
Clears my mind, puts me in a good mood. Something else for me is as we're growing and unlocking new levels, you know, is seeing other peers doing the same thing.
Yes.
Where you're like, you know, 5 years ago, they were very, like, great at their job, tactical day-to-day stuff. And now, 5 years later, they're not in the day-to-day. You know, just like me, you know, like going to a different place with your time management and people management and seeing successes across the organization of people that are, like, really leaning into understanding, hey, it's not about my personal productivity. It's about all the people around me and how I get them there. And to see those successes, that I love that.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to see that as we grow with existing people and then bringing in new people and meshing them together. I love that.
Yeah, that's such a
that gets
good
me
thought.
So excited because, you know, they didn't even know that they signed up for that maybe 5 years ago. You know?
Yeah. Well, even on a smaller scale, which is maybe not, I shouldn't even say smaller, but like at a different concept, but same. It's just so fantastic to sit down with somebody and have them show you something. Like, oh, I wanted to show you this. I was thinking whatever. And it's like the coolest thing.
Yes.
And I'm always just like, you thought of that?
Yeah.
That's so great. Let's do it.
Incredible.
You know, like that I get so hyped about. It happened like 10 times this week. And I was like, I should leave more often and leave these people alone.
It's
so
just a thought, you know. It's more like giving less direction and just like being the hype man, you know.
Oh, can you imagine? Best life ever.
It is.
Oh my gosh.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I think that was all I had on the topic, but something that we think about and talk about personally. That, you know, it's always good to share those thoughts, because it's like a cloud in a way for where we are as a company, constantly talking about this growth and we're growing, and just to bring everybody into that mindset of the challenges and then the benefits.
Yeah.
As always, the benefits always outweigh those challenges.
Absolutely.
You know.
Well, that transitions right into our shout out.
Shout out. Yeah. So I'm going to be a little vulnerable in telling the world about why this is my shout out. So we have our Southeast region is in part of this main office building. So this is the only, you know, region that isn't on their own in their own building. They occupy this other piece of the building. So we have a selection gallery here for the region, right? And this selection gallery has undergone many renovations over the years. It was built in 2002 and constant updates. So I think it was 2 years ago we did a massive renovation where we consolidated everything, put it on the first floor, and the second floor is occupied by my remodeling company now. Through these renovations, we moved a bunch of plumbing, bathrooms, all kinds of stuff. And over the last year, at times, there has been a pungent smell in certain pockets of the selection gallery and where the administrative building's connecting to
An
it.
office clearing smell. Everyone clears the room.
And to make matters worse for our poor customers who are coming into our retail
great experience.
storefront, you know, and we've been fortunate that because it's this mysterious thing that shows up every now and again, it hasn't really affected a lot of appointments, but it's just been the most frustrating thing to figure out over the last couple months. And it was so important that we gave Adam, our facilities manager, the rock of finding this smell. So a rock in EOS terms is a 13-week goal to get something done. And a rock needs to be important, you know? And this was deemed important enough to be a rock, meaning April 17th, you got to have this figured out. He's just took the gloves off, trying to find...
I hope not.
This, a lot of gloves
totally.
on, Bought equipment. I mean, we're ripping stuff apart. And this is why I'm being vulnerable is because we are home builders and we know how to identify things.
Yeah.
We think. And what it was a buried waste line, not connected to anything, but connected to the main waste line.
Okay.
So it was capped, or it wasn't capped. It was cut off and buried in the floor system.
In the floor?
Yeah, in the basement.
Oh.
But it looked like it was
connected.
going up.
Oh.
Yeah. The subfloor was put over it. So Adam found it.
Nothing was coming out of it?
No. It's a dead waste line going into the main, going out to the septic.
But it still had access to the smell
Yes.
that it was releasing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So depending on the wind and
there
the
you go.
environment, it's just bringing the sewer smell in. And he found it. He capped it. All is good. Adam is the MVP.
Oh, he deserves it all for
but
that.
that's not the reason he's the MVP. He's the MVP because of who he is.
Yeah.
He brings a lot of joy and entertainment into our lives, and he's very good at his job. And I love working with him, and he's been awesome.
This is so perfect that you're saying that. I was talking to our sister, Maddie, today, and we have this new thing that we've been talking about that, you know, you remember a moment in the day that meant something to you, you know, like to turn your brain on just to pay attention to like things that make you feel good during the day. You know, stranger helping an old lady cross the street.
Yes.
And these things are called glimmers.
Okay.
And so we were just talking about her doing stuff at the model home. And then she goes, you know what, a glimmer for me this week is Adam. I love that guy.
Yeah.
So she literally just said that to me an hour ago before this. So it's perfect.
There you go.
Great guy.
Yes. Love that guy. So what is your challenge for the week?
My challenge for the week is to, now this is a little bit like, I don't know, I probably say this every week, a little bit like the thing that you talked about. Why do I always forget that? Clarity break.
Clarity break? Yeah.
You know, where you just kind of take a minute to clear your mind, get things out on paper, all of that.
Recurring appointment.
Yes. Every
has to
week.
be in the calendar.
Or whatever time frame you decide.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned that that's a challenge before. I think what mine is to take that one step further, is to actually make a plan once you've identified something. So, you know, we said we started out this conversation a little rocky because I have not been doing that. You know, I know, I look at my week, look at my schedule. I have lots of ideas.
Yeah.
But I am not being intentional and I'm not planning.
Sure.
You know, and I think that sometimes I get overwhelmed when I think of, well, I have to have a plan. We were just talking about all the little steps to get to your end result.
You get locked up.
Right. So maybe just like a couple of the steps for something that I need to get done. Just start.
Gentle push in the right direction.
Just start, you know, when you've got something that's important to you. It doesn't mean you have to have a plan for everything, but something where you want to show up and you want to be good. Have a little bit of a framework and a plan set up around it. You know?
Yeah.
So that's my challenge.
No, that's good. I mean, I think part of it too is, you know, again, leveling up as a leader and time blocking.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's like the extreme part. And eventually we're certainly going to have Andrew, our general manager in State College. We're going to have him on as a guest to talk about all his productivity hacks. And, you know, that guy's a maniac. So he's like here. We're just trying to get like right here.
Just
you know,
functioning adult.
Yeah. He's like uses apps to time block and, you know, he never violates those rules.
Can you imagine?
It's just like,
Good job, Andrew.
Yeah, good job.
Well,
we're very impressed.
That being said, speaking of guests or people to talk about things, we want to hear from you guys. Who do you want to hear from? What do you want to hear about? And then I can make a plan. So please help me. Thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
Again, our email addresses are now listed. Thank you, Brandon.
Yes.
By the way, Brandon Robenstein.
Yes.
In this office right now gets a perpetual shout out for the nonsense that he has to deal with.
I was going to say, like, he can't even be nominated for MVP.
Yeah.
He's just the MVP.
For all time. Thank you.
And he has his headphones in. I think he can't even hear us. So
he'll catch it in the editing.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Have a great week. See ya.